Shabbat Shalom. Really is so good to be together. I want to thank some people in particular. I have colleagues here from Minnesota Multi-Faith Network, and I'm so grateful for your presence, for being here today. I want to introduce our speaker, and I'm just thrilled that she is here and has agreed to be here tonight with us. Professor Najeeba Sayeed. I met her just this past June at the Aspen Institute Religion and Society Summit, which was in Washington, D.C. It's hard to believe it was just June because we only met a couple times since, and she already feels like a friend. She was appointed last summer as the inaugural El Hebrew Endowed Chair and the Executive Director of Interfaith at Augsburg University. She is a recognized leader in peace building. She has so many awards. She twice received the John Anson Ford Award for Reducing Violence and was named Southern California Mediation Association's Peacemaker of the Year in 2007. She studied psychology with a concentration in women's studies at Guilford College. She earned her doctorate from Indiana University School of Law, where she ran the university's mediation program. Professor Sayeed's scholarship has reflected on the role of Muslim peace building, interfaith just peacemaking and diplomacy, and Islamic spiritual formation for peacemaking. And what a night to hear messages of peace. It is a pleasure to welcome you to Mount Zion.
So some would say or think that perhaps I should not be here tonight, but my faith calls on me in the Quran, ta'arafu, to know the other, and that ta'arafu, translated from Arabic into English, is not a knowing that is gentle indifference to one another, but it is actually active engagement and knowing one another and learning about one another. Levinas, who was already referenced tonight, says about the other is the future. The very relationship with the other is the relationship with the future. Today, in a moment of pain, greater than one could imagine, we could choose to separate eternally. We could choose to divide and move apart. Here, the gift of face-to-face, referencing Levinas yet again, and that was not coordinated between the rabbi and I. Here, the gift of the face-to-face, Levinas says, can we choose to see each other? Can we choose to see each other? Today, I hear and see the pain and the fear and the grief in these pews. I hear and see the pain, the fear, and the grief in these pews. I pray for the end of the violence. I pray for the end of violence, especially against those who are civilians and innocents, against children and families. I pray for the end of violence, especially those who are civilians and children and innocents, and against children and families. I think back to my own high school days. My best friend, Brooke Rubenstein, I don't know where she is now. We went to school together in Northern Virginia. She was Jewish, or is Jewish, and continues to be Jewish from what I know. And she was someone who was sober as well and had been dealing with issues. But she and I ended up friends because I couldn't drink or go to parties in high school being Muslim. So Brooke and I ended up being best friends for that reason. So you never know what will bring you close to people but we ended up being best friends and charted a lot of environmental activism at our high school together, starting an organization called Students Against Global Abuse. And what I think is beautiful is remembering and attending her sister's bat mitzvah, and it was the first time that people picked me up on a chair and danced around with me. And I was thinking, by the way, it was a little bit terrifying. You might want to give people a warning about that. So I think about those stories. I think about when I went to college and I turned 19, reflecting on the relationships between communities. And my father, who was head of a Muslim organization at that time, said, Najeeba, the state of relations between our communities, I can't go, but I would like to send you at 19 to a national conference, one of the first held on Muslim-Jewish relations in the early 90s. So he sent me at 19, and that was a public conversation between our communities, one of the first that was national. And what was so surprising to me was talking to other 19-year-olds from around the country, both Muslim and Jewish, and how much we shared being religious minorities. My son, when he would find out someone was Jewish in his class, he would say, oh, someone else that can't have pepperoni on their pizza. And so simple stories like that, from the age of 19 until now, you've heard my very illustrious and very long bio. I don't know if it's illustrious, but it's very long. For me, the promise of my faith is a promise of peacemaking and peace building, and that is really why I'm here today, is that Brooke and I, one of the things we did with each other is we sat with each other through the pains of adolescence, and we sat through each other through the pains of each other's peoples. So I stand here to let you know that in our country right now, we know that anti-Semitism is on the rise, and I want you to know that you are safe with me. I want you to know that if this synagogue is ever targeted, that my home and my heart are open to you. I want you to know that. In my tradition, our prophet says that a Muslim is someone from whose hand you should feel safe. So I want you to know that if ever you need a place of safety or just a conversation where you feel safe, that I do that out of my own understanding of my religious tradition. And some days it may get impossible to be able to share space, but what I want you to know is that if ever there is a moment when we can witness each other's pain, that it is in fact a sacred witness, to walk with each other through the humanity and the dignity that in our tradition and in many traditions, God visits the unborn child and breathes into that child what we call karama, dignity, the dignity of being human into every child. So every child is sacred. Every child who's here today is a sacred being. So I will stand and protect that witness, hold on to that human cord so that your children and my children may live together to see a world, because ultimately, you are my bridge to the future and I am yours. May God bless us all.
We will have many days and nights for continued dialogue, for learning, and I think you just witnessed why we have to learn from each other and how blessed we are when we have the opportunity to learn. That was such a beautiful message, just a taste. We had lunch, coffee a few weeks ago, actually it was in the summer, and I remember other stories that you were sharing just about your life, and We have so much to learn with each other. I want to acknowledge that I've been receiving a lot of emails over these last few weeks about this time because we are feeling so raw as a community. And hearing messages of just calling for our humanity and being in presence with each other is so important. I want to share that many of you know that I'm a part of an Imam-Rabbi dialogue group. We've met for years. And at times like this, when there is challenge in Israel and in Palestine, we often find it hard to be in dialogue. We don't talk much. But on the day after October 7th, Imam Assad Zaman texted me and just said, "I am praying for you. I'm thinking of you and your pain right now." And I found that simple message so meaningful, and I want to share it with you. It is hard for us to find the words because the context touches so much pain. But I want to share one other thing because we haven't had many opportunities to talk about this moment too, and this is from me, just me, but it is quoting someone I just met as well this summer, Dr. David Meyer, who is a professor at UCLA. And he has two sentences that I want to share. He said, "It is an absolute moral imperative to condemn without equivocation the massacre that took place on October 7th. And it is a moral imperative to attend to the extraordinary suffering that Palestinians in Gaza are now undergoing, and that those two statements are not exclusive of one another. We can hold many truths in this moment. Bring them home, these hostages. Don't let this happen again. Save Palestinian lives. Give humanitarian aid. Seek solutions to allow Israelis and Palestinians to live and not die. Support the peacemakers on both sides working to share the sacred land." That's my message. I hope it resonates for some of you. I hope it inspires dialogue for all of us. I'm not expecting us all to agree. I'm expecting us to share space in this time.